All right, and we are beaming people up. So, should be ready to go here. Um, Looks like our rogue, he's an outlaw rogue. He's hoping for some dagger drops as he wants to switch to assassin. I personally do have an outlaw rogue. I know they're not for everybody, but they are more mechanically driven, I believe. So, just taking a look at our warrior here, on par with the one that we just had in Freehold. So we'll just kind of take a look, see, and should be fun. One of the nice things with the shaman class as well um, is our ability to remove curses. Um, this is actually very important, particularly in Waycrest, as it's pretty curse intensive. As we druids can remove the, uh, the magic, curses, and poison, and the paladins can remove the disease. Um, so the shamans have a pretty good utility with the removal of curses in here. And since it is nice in close quarters, the AoE from the healing rain is always beneficial and almost guaranteed to hit where it needs to land. Demon Hunter looks slightly geared, which is always awesome. You may have noticed that I do have this crossbar underneath here. This is actually a favorite add-on. It's called Decursive. Um, I'm still old school, even though I have programmable mice, keyboards, and all the macros and bells and whistles. I still do prefer to point-click hotkey as needed, but I don't have all the macros that some more uh, more dexterous players may have over me. So make sure we get everybody up here. Ah, lovely, 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 lovely. Why did they need to pull at all? Guess if you've got the DPS, go for it, but it's just that initial survivability, right? Um, let's get this going here. So back to the add-on Decursive. Nice thing I like about it is instead of uh, trying to figure out where on the icon list the team is, particularly if the tank is not the leader, which would of course put the tank at the top spot, um, or if you're just trying to fumble through trying to find your cleansing or your purification, if you will, the removing curses and such. It's just a lot easier to have decursive, as what it ends up doing is it will highlight one of these squares down below, and it will, all you have to do is just hover over it, click it, and it will automatically apply whatever decurse or cleanse capability you have to that target, and it also gives the countdown value associated with that. So you could see, obviously, if you see 20-second curses that are on somebody, uh, your cooldown would then show that you have 8 seconds left until you can run that again. So it's great that the uh, DPS is telling the tank that he can go ahead and pull more, because you know the DPS isn't the one who has to heal him. I am. So good times. So now I am expecting I'm expecting an interrupt to not go off with the dinner bell, which may actually end up silence me and not line of sight. So we'll just get this going. Waycrest is a really fun instance, particularly because I'm a huge fan of the storyline. I think that Waycrest itself has enough content to warrant maybe its own sub expansion type pack. I know there's been a lot of, not to give any spoilers away for those who have not played further along in the war campaign, there are mentions and happenings that involve the Drustvar area, and it was just very nice and refreshing to see. So, alright. So let's see what we can dodge, let's see what we can do. The duck dive. Get out of his way. And yeah, I'm gonna take a blast, but heal, right? Looking good, looking good. I'm gonna get that servant. Very nicely done. The big thing that I do find in here, of course, are the curses and the warding candles. As we get to that pull, I'll show you with what I'm talking about. With the witches that do spawn will get these warding candles, by which, if they're standing on them, is mitigating their damage and makes them more lethal to your party members. So you've definitely got to move them off of those candles. All about the threat. Looking good, looking good. You can tell the DPS is going to be getting very antsy, only because the tank is pulling methodically and slowly, whereas the DPS looks like they may be a little used to a little bit more comfortable with some things. That pull actually made it almost look like it wasn't the tank that pulled that, as it was as much a DPS. My wife, as an example, plays a holy priestess that has been playing with me for 15 years, since vanilla. And back in the old days, it was a, if you spank it, you will tank it. If you pop that crowd control, good luck. Because when it comes down to either healing the tank or healing a DPS that decided to become overzealous, yes. And the fact that she's a natural redhead, sure. So he's gonna take some damage from this boss, because I have a feeling he's, well, I have a feeling that he's not gonna walk him into the fire. If he does, that's cool, because I have my cooldowns available to be able to throw those totems down and bring everybody back up, if absolutely need be anyway. That's so far so good. Looks to be a really good group. Of course, the DPS is definitely helpful. Let's go and just kind of take a look at that here. Yeah, that's really wicked DPS, actually. Keeping in mind, of course, it is a 0, but it is still always appreciated when some heavy firepower comes into these types of runs. Makes it a little easier to get through. Makes the videos a little bit more fun, and not as scary when the fit hits the shan, because we're sitting there wiping 57 times because, yeah. So, some AoE going here. Looking good. I do try to stay on top of the heals, mostly because of one of the affixes for the mythics is something called Grievous. It is a healer's absolute nightmare, as Grievous means a target that is taking damage and goes under 90% health will continue to tick down damage over time and bleed out until they are topped off above 90%. So as an example, if there's a AoE blast that goes off and the entire party takes damage, the healer at that point is needing to get everyone in the party above 90%. Most healers don't have issues with that. However, it is the entire party's responsibility to help mitigate and get themselves back up during a blast of that magnitude. Doesn't matter how good your healer is, doesn't matter how skilled the player is, it does matter in the sense that Blizzard gave every one of your classes some type of mitigation, some type of self-healing, some type of cover your ass, everything is going to go completely wrong. If you fail to use that and put the onus directly on your healer, you may find yourself not well liked. It isn't to say that you constantly have to stand there, stop DPS, and self-heal yourself. It is to say, show your healer a little bit of love. On occasion, if you're seeing somebody drop and you have the ability to throw an off-heal because the healer is doing everything they can to kind of get above a certain point, show them some love. We always appreciate that. Also, too, if the group's taking heavy cleave damage, goes back to mechanics. Again, it's not all about being on top of the damage meter as much as it's about, sure, you aced the damage meter, but did you take almost as much damage as a tank? Because if so, you're kind of making us work hard for the money. Now, these witches in here, I believe, are the hardest fight, only because it is a 3-pack. Nobody interrupts on the witches, which actually would be helpful if they did. It would help mitigate a lot of damage. That, and there is the mind control from one of the bosses in here. That, for some odd reason, people find it necessary to DPS down the mind control target as opposed to just DPS down the source of the mind control, which happens to be from Sister Selena. If you are ever needing to DPS down a mind control target, I'm sure I speak on behalf of anybody who has ever been mind controlled ever, please do not use damage over time abilities, because even though when it stops, our mind control is over, we are still taking a significant amount of damage. So, one thing to point out with these witches is they do have an end rage timer, so if you cannot burn them down after so long, they will begin to channel an end of the world type spell, which ultimately translates into a party wipe. So on the high-end mythics, particularly those mythics of that include Tyrannical, which is your boss having 40% more health, 40% more health, and also doing 15% more damage. These fights can take a considerable amount of time to get down. So just kind of keep that in mind as well. When you are having to help off heal, or if you are down here with these witches on Tyrannical, these will be endurance level fights. So any type of mitigation or any type of support you can give your healer would be appreciated. Looking good. Sky actually is geared better than the Waycrest side at a Mythic 0. However, just in the interest of getting the quest done, helping out some folks, late night, trying to find a healer, That and it's just fun. It gives me practice. It also gives me an opportunity to potentially meet new players that are good people. Um, Not necessarily from a guild recruitment perspective, but just people to be able to network with and play with in the future. It doesn't matter the title um, of the guild above their name, or below their name for that matter. It just matters as people being people and folks having a good time. Um, and so when you do find those folks that are in the community that are great players and that you've just had an amazing time with, it just comes in handy to get out there and meet some folks. And this is what I like to do. We start out with the simple runs and just kind of see if there's any like-minded individuals out there and strike up a conversation. It is rare, as I'm sure a lot of you know, that some folks aren't real social. They just get in, they want to get it done, and I respect that, but I do miss conversing with folks sometimes. So thankfully I'm in a great guild, and that's all part of the WoW experience. It's not just about getting the gear, it's about the experience with your teammates to get there. So we're going to head down to the 50 Shades of Grey, just from exact opposite, as I think that Lady Waycrest kind of holds the wears the pants in the family, actually. So we'll bring this boss up. Or not boss, sorry, we're gonna actually bring our team member up here. Definitely don't want to be healing any bosses. There's those warding the candles I was telling you about, where the damage taken reduced by 50%. That means a lot, especially if you do have affixes that you do have affixes that could be griefing somebody or causing troubles for your team. If you have a large pool of those witches that are standing on the warding candles, that becomes an issue in itself.
Beware.
Primarily because if you're not moving them, well, what's going to happen? They're
3, 2, 1.
They're never going to go down. And that AoE, by the way, that poison right there, some recommendation here. If you are hit with that poison,
2, 1.
recommended don't actually have it dispelled until you are at a safe distance away. Because as soon as it's dispelled, it does that, the green underneath it. And of course, anybody standing in it would just reinfect themselves. So it is recommended if you get that green, just kind of run off to the side somewhere. It's going to be gone in a few seconds from itself, and then just go back into your fight. Don't stand there with the tank and constantly reinfect. It's annoying as all hell, and it just depletes your health more rapid than typical healer can keep up with. So he's looking for that world quest. Obviously we're going to have to go this way to get it. Breakdown in communication. The tank goes one way. Tank goes one way, party goes the other. Yep. Probably should have communicated that beforehand. I'll just fall down here because I'm a silly, silly puppy. these guys, the whole group actually. It's not a party unless everyone's coming, right? Here comes some healing love. There you go, there you go. And there is our quest executive chef, Daniel. And it does look like our rogue is taking a considerable amount of damage here. Actually, looks like everybody is. Quests I'm missing here. We can go down, guys. Now the end boss, Gorog Tool. Actually, one step back. These guys right here is recommended to stack on the tank. There is no threat table with these things, so keep that in mind. If you are going to pull, everybody should just stack. There's no way to effectively tank them. Just everybody stay on top of each other just like we're doing right now. Bring them all down, a little bit of group heals, and should be good. They're not actually horrible if you pull all of them, depending on your mitigation, but keeping in mind that all of them also does mean that every one of your party members is going to get beat up more than usual. Gorok Tool's fight is very simple. Throughout the fight, he's going to summon an ad. Ideally, DPS should then turn, focus the ad down, and then when there is the vial on the floor with the fire, the player should throw that vial at the foot of Gorok Tool, just like this. So you'll see I have the vial. Just to make sure that the ads do not come back up. So it's get on Gorok Tool, get to the ad, go back to Gorok Tool on higher end mythics, or if you're not as DPS heavy like we are right now, if you start getting overwhelmed with the ads do stun lock, so if you do begin to get overwhelmed with the ads, you will begin to experience the pain of even having your tank stunned and not being able to get back out of it. So that was actually pretty simple, just because of our DPS and it being a Mythic 0. But yeah, that is another adventure here with Skydreamer. Of course, more of the mechanics of things will come as I make more guides for our team and for folks who do enjoy these videos. So we're going to go ahead and sign off from Skydreamer right now. We're going to go ahead and leave the party, go ahead and hearth on back, and probably call it a night tonight, folks, and start on some more videos tomorrow. But I thank you for spending your evening with me, and we'll do it again soon.